Frostpunk 2 on PS5 is the kind of game that makes you say 5 more minutes, and then you've gentrified half an ice shelf. But here's the honest hook. It's still a masterpiece of survival politics, just delivered through a controller that occasionally feels like you're wearing mittens. Quick temperature check. The port arrives a year after the PC launch. Same brutal premise, bigger scope. Districts over buildings, decades over days, and a council that can depose you faster than a cold snap. On the couch, you get beautiful UI theatrics and a soundscape that howls like a broken promise. You also get tiny text, a fussy build cursor, and some reported crashes late game. So is it worth it on PS5? Yes, with settings tweaks, a steady save habit, and a willingness to make enemies. Context in one Snowdrift, 11-bit Studios has a PhD in fun that hurts. This sequel moves from scraping by survival to hard governance. You'll juggle oil, food, and heat, but your real currency is consent. Factions, faithkeepers, industrialists, reformers, zealots with nicer coats sit on a council that votes on laws you propose. You can persuade them, trade favors, or consolidate power. And when you inevitably break a few promises to pass a rationing bill that saves lives, the game makes you live with it. Where the reviewers align, the politics system slaps in the gut, in the brain, and then in the reputation. DualShockers loves how negotiations spiral into IOUs that come due at the worst time. TheSixthAxis calls it one of the most cinematic city builders ever, with a faction model that feels uncomfortably real. COGconnected praises the scale jump, districts, colonies, long arcs, while warning that late-game performance and text readability can test your patience. Consensus. On console, the soul of Frostpunk 2 survives intact. Where they split, the port polish. One camp says the radial menus and expanded views make browsing fine from the couch. Another camp says the build grid hops tile like a nervous squirrel and the DualSense doesn't earn its keep. One reviewer hit multiple crashes and begged for a larger font. Another called performance modes solid with only rare hitches when the map is dense. The truth is cold. It's playable, often elegant, sometimes annoying. Bold, take time. If you can play on PC, do it. Mouse still rules this genre. But if console is your home or your only option, the PS5 version delivers the full moral meat grinder, and that's what you came for. The control quirks are ice you can skate around. The council knife fights are why you stay. Pattern interrupt, power settings. On a standard 60Hz TV, pick performance mode for a smoother camera sweep. It reduces build mode jank when you're tracing frostbreak corridors. On a 120Hz display, balanced 40 frames per second often feels best in class for strategy pacing with nicer image quality than 60. If you're a screenshot goblin and patient, Fidelity 30 frames per second makes the city glow like a Victorian inferno. None of these resurrect small fonts, so bump your TV's sharpness, zoom just a hair, and sit closer than your chiropractor likes. Let's talk systems you'll actually touch for 10 hours straight. The districts model is the grown-up version of Frostpunk's plop and pray. You're laying down industrial footprints and logistics arteries, then frostbreaking to carve routes through permafrost to resources. It's elegant because it's macro, optimizing throughput instead of babysitting 4 sawmills. But it punishes drift. Expand without upgrading logistics and you starve your city. Turtle too long and a cold wave snaps your grid like kindling. Then the council convenes. Laws pass with blocks and undecideds. Bribes aren't bags of cash, they're infrastructure. We'll support your sanitation act if you upgrade our logistics hub. That favor pays back 3 chapters later when you need votes for a quarantine. Or it doesn't and you get deposed. The game lets you be magnanimous for about 90 minutes. After that, you're one factory accident from Khrushchev in a parka. Pattern interrupt, the Frostland. Exploration is better than you remember, text-driven events with teeth, plus meaningful colonies. Those are exhilarating and dangerous. Feed the offshoot, starve the capital. Or ignore the offshoot, watch a morale crater become a political crater. The best run street colonies as time power-ups, not second cities. The console reality check, the good. The cinematic feel survives the living room portraits, event vignettes, UI grime that looks ice-caked and oily. Radial menus help, and the extended city view is a smart navigation layer. The mixed build mode tile hopping can be sticky. Some tooltips hide behind too many layers. The touchpad isn't a mouse. The bad. Text can be minuscule on a couch-length setup, and at least one outlet reported mid-lag crashes. Save often, rotate slots, and don't marathon 3-hour sessions without manual saves. Veteran Games Practical Kit for PS5 stewards. Performance or 40 frames per second balanced for most players. Fidelity if you're Zen. Increase UI text size in-game where possible. Bump TV zoom 1 notch. Rebind snap to menu tabs to D-pad only. Avoid analog drift in long menus. In build mode, place from mid-zoom, not fully zoomed out, to reduce tile skips. Save on every chapter beat, major law, or colony establishment. Treat the game like a roguelike campaign. You'll learn faster and rage less. Is the narrative still a scythe? Yes, the sequel weaponizes scale. You'll institute a quarantine that saves thousands while denying parents a final goodbye. And the city will remember, and so will you. You'll outlaw a faction's overreach and feel righteous, until you need their votes to keep food shipments moving. Frostpunk 2 isn't grimdark for shock. It's an ethics sim where less bad is the win state. The endgame ramps into loudness, music, map effects, urgency. Some reviewers bounced off the tone. But the multiple endings and post-mortem judgment fit the thesis. Stewardship isn't about feeling good. It's about whether people survive long enough to argue about you. Mid-video payoff before CTA, the most valuable resource in year 12 isn't oil, it's legitimacy. Lock early laws that boost logistics and food stability before you polarize the council. Court one major faction, keep a second neutral, and give the true believers nothing permanent you can't undo. When in doubt, pass policy that increases throughput, not ideology points. That buys you time, and time buys you hope. If this kind of no BS deep dive is your thing, hitch a ride with Veteran Game and hit subscribe. If you learned a trick or you're composing a formal complaint on behalf of the Faithkeepers, drop a like so this take survives the algorithm. Verdict on PS5: Frostpunk 2 remains elite. The controller friction is real but manageable. The politics, exploration, and audio-visual gravitas make it sing. If you have PC access, that's still the apex. If you don't, this console port can't kill this city, it just makes you work a little harder to save it. Debate prompt. Should Frostpunk 2 add a TV couch, UI profile, and optional console timers to better suit console pacing? Or would that sand off the tension that makes it special?